Hello guys, TKG is here for your comfortable LostArk life. In this video, I'd like to cover the class Sorceress. As the video in my channel has some old introduction and editing, so I want to remake it like the recent cover video. And of course, add some more categories and chapter for more clear explanations. Now follow me, I'll show you what I need. Before I start this video, one thing you need to know. This video is made on KL server, so it is including the statistic and common experience of KL server right now. So as the video is containing about the gaming experience and build on KL, some of the composition of the skill, tripod build, can be a little bit different with the global. But I will try to explain as much as I can and easy as I can in this video of the preference and the build on KL. And maybe you can also know the recent situation and community right now on KL on this class. And of course with this video, you can utilize some of the build for your LostArk journey. So watch this video with those considerations and use this video as your reference to your LostArk journey. Let's start with the most basic of this video. The class engraving I'm going to cover in this video is Igniter. As you guys might already know roughly, Igniter Sorceress is a typical and representative of the identity line classes. Almost every damage is coming from the identity. Magic Amplification. Magic Amplification decreases the cooldown of all skill 50% and increase the damage of all skills for a short period of time. Identity uptime is about 15 seconds, but most of the Sorceress skills cooldown are less than the 30 seconds. So theoretically, all of the skills can be used once in amplification uptime. But I gotta be honest, it is really theoretic. Due to a great damage performance with a simple mechanic, she had a great popularity among the KL players. As you might expect, her base and core combat stat is specializations. Most of the damage performance coming from the identity. Her core combat stat is specializations, so you need to choose the variation stat based on the specializations. So in other words, specialization stat is forced to use when you decide to play as Igniter Sorceress. Of course, she has another variation build to choose from, but I can't show all of the variation on this one video. So I will show you the most representative build on KL, and maybe on the global. Maybe the most representative of the Igniter Sorceress with the Nightmare gear set. Also, you can chain to a hallucination with the flexibility if your party don't have a synergy on critical rate. Nightmare build has an exceptional damage performance during the raid contents, but due to a low critical rate, about 45 to 55%, so if you are unlucky, you might feel desperate when you miss a critical on the main skills. Also, without swiftness stat, you might feel a little heavy on a control too. Additionally, in order to do a complete skill skill combo during the gameplay, high level of cooldown gem is recommended to use. Well, in order to do representative amplification combo called Doomsday Identity Doomsday, you need the high level of cooldown gem. Technically, you can do this combo with the level 7 cooldown gem, but it is really barely fits the cooldown. For the better skill cycle, personally, you need about level 8 or 9 cooldown gem on Doomsday. For the engraving option, you can choose it from the two settings, one that uses the crystal or using the adrenals. In KL, we had a elixir system on the continent called Voltus, one that can be obtainable during the Abyss Dungeon, Ivory Tower. What I want to say is that due to this elixir, crystal's efficiency is still, in Mercurian expression, it's still an active duty so far, but not likely have an efficiency than before. Still, it is okay to use, but for the future update, it can be a little inefficient. And also, she has a variation build that using swiftness too, more like the light version build for the alt. One thing you need to care about this build is the MP management, especially for the low hardened players. You might be lacks MP very often. But due to her swiftness stat, this build has a little soft requirements than the previous stat build. As you guys might already know about this, Igniter Sorceress is quite capable on huge damage performance, more like can be a main part or the main role in the gameplay. And due to this cool and decent damage performance in the variable rate, she is quite fun to play. But actually, damage performance is really everything. And also, best advantage of the Sorceress, it has cool effects on her skills. So if you are expecting the cool effects and great damage performance, this character is just for you. As the Sorceress class are totally relying on the 15 seconds identity, in other words, without it, she is really nothing. And sometimes, when you use the whole main DPS skill for your damage performance, you might be unable to participate on the gimmicks too. So sometimes you have to rely to the battle item or your teammates in order to skip the gimmicks like stagger. Also, as a main skill is consistent with the one-hit skills, so sometimes if you miss because enemy fly away or backstab, which is driving me crazy, your DPS performance really drops. I mean, can be more than you expect. And as her build is mostly not including the swiftness, her control can be slightly difficult for the beginners too. Not to mention you need to adjust or more like calibrate your timing exactly with the Nightmare buff. But I gotta be honest, Sorceress are traditionally loved among the KL players. I think the popularity of the Sorceress, especially Igniter's popularity, can be summarized by this text box. As her damage performance is quite exceptional than any other classes in the LostArk. For Korean expression, received or more like check after the raid is quite greatly satisfying to watch. Not to mention about cool and fantasy style, sound and visual effects is cool to watch. But one thing I need to emphasize about the Igniter is that I know you have some hard time to participate in the gimmicks because sometimes saving your main DPS for the next mechanic, or sometimes your cooldown is not done, or you didn't carry the counter with you. So I recommend you to throw the battle item or try to carry some counter skills, or try not to save too much in the big mechanic. It's a team game, right? As you might expect, her skill cycle is totally relying on the identity. So, more higher specialization stat is recommended to use. Pretty sounds obvious, right? Personally, for the smooth and better skill cycle, you need at least about 1600, or for more smooth cycle, you need at least about 1700 to 1800 or higher for the better skill performance. And as I mentioned in the first, in order to hit the ceiling on a skill cycle, you need to carry some high level of cooldown gem for doing the 2 Doomsday combo during the identity activation. Technically, you can do the 2 Doomsday combo with the level 7 Crimson Gem, but as I mentioned, it is really barely fits the cooldown. So in order to be in time during the identity uptime, you need, or personally, I recommend you to have a level 8 or level 9 Crimson Gem on the Doomsday skills. And as I mentioned, as our key mechanic is identity supply, so for the better identity cycle in the whole contents, you need to get the Wells Rune 2. The core mechanic of the Igniter Sorceress is Gedarum, Enlightenment, and the Magic Amplification, her identity. Unlike the intricate explanation on the first, her core mechanic is quite simple. You need to fill up the identity with your Enlightenment skills, and then turn on the Magic Amplification, and then pouring everything is literally everything. Pretty easy, right? So fill up the identity, turn on the identity is really everything on Igniter Sorceress. Skill composition can be summarized by this text box. One that has a crucial role on supplying the identity, Enlightenment skills, and one that used as a main DPS, and the synergy and the counter. And some of you might asking about why no reverse gravity or seraphic hail? Well, there's a reason for that. First, let's talk about the reverse gravity. Reverse gravity has a great role in supplying the identity, but also can do a major role in maintaining or managing the Nightmare buff. Problem is, using reverse gravity equals or meaning, well, as a Korean expressions, we call this 해줘, like do it for me. In other words, it is almost you are saying to the other teammates that you are not going to be any part of the gimmicks, especially for the counter mechanic. I think that most of the players will do the public matchmaking or party making, right? So conclusion, I suggest you to be in part of that gimmicks. Unless your whole party is your friends or relative, try to use the squall for the counter gimmicks. I'm serious. I know the sorcerers are always busy for calculating and concerning about their skill circulations, but before that, it is a team game, right? We need to end this homework fast, as I mentioned in the first. Second, esoteric reaction can be replaced to a ceramic hail, like I said in the first. One problem for the reaction is that it is a normal skill. Yep, it is a non-elemental skill without any Light of Salvation card set. As the Sorcerer's magic amplification do only increase the damage of the elemental skill damage, without the Light of Salvation card set, reaction cannot be included on the damage increase buff. So you need to use the esoteric reaction when you have at least 12 plus Light of Salvation card set. Of course, you could use the reaction with just ignoring those differences, but still, I recommend using the reaction skill if you met some requirements on your card set. Build and priority can be summarized by this text box. For the better identity cycle, first tripod the rhyme arrows, quick prep, and the first call, enlightenment, is quite recommended on leveling. Also, if you feel a little hard on supplying the identity, rhyme arrow first tripod can be replaced to enlightenment too. For the better damage performance, tripod of the Doomsday, punishing strike, explosions, tripod is quite need of leveling, which we called 삼신기, 3 mighty tools. And additionally, for the non-Light of Salvation players, I suggest to use the Seraphic Hail by replacing the esoteric reactions. And as I mentioned, reverse gravity is a preference and the option of the sorcerer's compositions. You can use instead of esoteric reaction for the nightmare buff controls, but I suggest you to not replace a squall positions. Participating in the light gimmicks is more recommended than the huge DPS performance. Tripod and gem priority can be summarized by this text box. I did the explanation of the tripod in the skill build sections, so I'll skip that one. For the stable cycle on the Doomsday Identity Doomsday combo, I recommend you to do leveling the Doomsday Crimson Gem first, and then leveling the all other skills gem build. Personally, using level 7 gem is still can show you a decent damage performance too. But for the high tier raid like Archon and Ivory Tower in the future, level 7 Crimson Gem of the Doomsday can be rejected often. So, do the leveling the Doomsday Crimson cooldown gem. Set the level 7 of the other skills, and after that, slowly upgrade the 삼신기, 3 mighty tool skill annihilation gems. Awakening skill is Viscous Might. Apocalypse Code is okay to use back then, I mean on the first release of the Sorceress. Right now, I think her awakening skill is formalized to Viscous Might. The reason is simple, Viscous Might do fill up the identity Apocalypse Code want. So for the better identity and the skill cycle, try to use the Viscous Might. I think the most and the best advantage of the Sorceress is coming from the damage performance. Her positioning on the LostArk is like expecting the great damage performance in every contest, but gotta be honest, full hit of the skills can be a little bit hard to do that. Especially Doomsday 2nd can be a little bit hard to make a hit even if you are using level 10 Crimson Gem. But once you made full hit with your skills, your damage performance will be more satisfying than you expect. I mean, it can be more than you expect. Skill combo has not many things to explain and concern. As most of the performance of the Sorceress is coming from the Doomsday, you need to start stacking the identity by excluding the using Doomsday in your skill combo. And after that, turn on identity and pour everything you got. But gotta be honest, her skill combo is more like a reference. There is no must follow on her skill combo. More like you need to understand of the skill first and then utilize the skill with flexibility on many different situations. So you need to be like, yep, I think this is enough, while controlling her on many rate. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching everyone, and always thanks for your big support. Hope this video was a little helped for your LostArk journey. Hope you do well with your sorcerers with this video. And of course, if you like my videos, hit the sub for more upcoming infos. I'll come back with more useful infos in the next video.